If you want professional quality vocals instead of amateur vocals that sounds like you recorded them on iPhone headphones under a duvet, then this is the perfect video for you. I'm about to share 10 vocal production tips that will bring your vocals to the next level. You are guaranteed to learn something new in this video. But don't forget to leave your own vocal production tips in the comment section down below to help the rest of us. But before we get into it, if you want 5 of my best beats for absolutely free that come with 5 basic licenses too, so you can get your music heard on platforms like Spotify, then go to jcarterray.com/free beats or click on the link in the description down below. Let's get into it. Tip number 1. Before we get into that, let's just quickly play a bit of this song so you can kind of hear what's going on. This has been recorded in my Spotify ready vocal mixing secret template. I haven't mixed it at all. I've only brought it into this template, and this is what that sounds like. Oh, this is muted, my bad.
Let's pretend we're friends like we never had sex before. Never had your head on my chest, in my arms like a vaccine shot. Never shared a bed, never thought that it was love. Never.
Sounds pretty clean, doesn't it? That's what that template does for you. Link down below if you want to grab it. But let's get into these tips. So the first thing that you want to do, pretty much the first thing that you want to do with any set of vocals, is EQ sweep. Now, you may not know what an EQ sweep is, so let me explain it really quickly. An EQ sweep is when you have a very narrow EQ band and you go along your spectrum to find problem EQ areas. So if you play this back,
let's pretend we're friends like we never
and we go like this.
Never had your head on my chest, in my arms like a vaccine shot. Never shared a bed, never thought that it was love. Never saw a future where it was just us. Let's play make-believe.
Let's actually solo this so we can hear this more properly. But you'll hear problem areas in your vocals that you want to get rid of. So as you can see here, we've already taken out a few of our problem areas. So we're just going to go over here and boost these problem areas so you can hear what was actually going on that we had to take out.
Let's pretend we're friends like we never had.
That ringing, you definitely want to take that out, because if you don't take that out and your vocals go on for too long, or someone listens to your song for too long, it's going to really annoy their ears.
Had sex before. Never had your head on my chest, in my arms like a vaccine.
Around here's giving us a lot of boxiness and ringiness as well, and then this is where we'll get most of the muddiness and boxiness.
Never shared a bed, never thought that it was love. Never saw a future where it was just us.
And you can kind of hear that hollow tinniness.
Let's play make-believe like we couldn't see it coming. Make it seem like if we had the choice we wouldn't take off.
And you hear that low end ring as well. So basically that's what you'll do. You'll sweep in these main problem areas. So around 250, 300 to 500. And then we'll do like 600 to 800 and about 2000 to 3000. Around there, you want to sweep around there and then find places where it's sounding really bad and then take those out.
Let's act like we love the way it turned out. Force a smile with both our lips like it don't hurt now. Nothing was the same. Got me quoting Drake right now. Nothing feels safe right now. Smoking on me to the pain. Bet he's at your place right now. Tasting half your face on the couch. Ain't it crazy how things change, huh? And the truth hurts.
So you could probably take out some of that as well, to be fair.
We can dodge the truth, but can't outrun the universe. All your thoughts are second thoughts. Never knowing what you're heading for.
And that's EQ sweeping. Step number 2 is to cut the low end out for cleaner vocals. So here we've got a cut to 229 hertz, which just gets rid a lot of dead audio in that section and allows the bass of our beat to actually shine through a whole lot more, because we don't need all that bass in our voice. And when we do keep that bass in our voice, it actually makes everything sound a little bit dirtier. So if we come back over here and we play this, sounds quite clean now. But if I bring this over here,
had sex before. Never had your head on my chest, in my arms like
it will just get in the way a little bit.
Like a vaccine shot. Never shared a bed.
And it just doesn't sound as clean. Now you can have some cut in the high end as well if you want to do that. Right here, we've actually got a boost in the high end. And that's what we've done for these vocals to just make it sound a little bit more shiny, a little bit cleaner. But don't go too far, because if you go too far, then it will start sounding tinny and it will start getting in the way of everything, and it'll start ringing and be a very annoying high-pitched noise. Step number 3, or tip number 3, is to use compression to level dynamics. A big mistake that people make is they use compression to actually make their vocals louder. That's not what you want to do at all. You use compression to help your vocals stay at a consistent level throughout the tape. So for example, this compressor that we've got, its input is set to about 20, about 19 to 20, and then we've got quite a low attack, quite a high release, and a ratio of 4:1, which means every 1 decibel goes over this 19, let's say, will be reduced by 4 times. So every 1 will go down 4 decimals. So if it goes over 5 decimals, it will come back down 20 because it's times by 4. Okay, that's what that ratio does.
Let's pretend we're friends like we never had sex before.
And basically what you want to use the compressor for is to keep your vocals around the same level. So that's what a compressor is used for. To level out your dynamics, not to make anything louder. Tip number 4 is to add more than 1 EQ and more than 1 compressor, tackle different elements of the vocal. For example, you can add another EQ after you've done some compression to add more high end, or take away frequencies that have been added in after the compressor or after other effects. So don't be afraid to add more compressors and add more EQs, because as you add more effects, you add more frequencies. So you may want to add more EQs to take out those frequencies, and as you add more effects, you may mess up your dynamics, and you may want to add more compressors to keep your dynamics as level as possible. Tip number 5 is to do with autotune, which is to set the right key of your autotune. Make sure the key is the same as the beat. This is a big mistake that even happens with major artists. If you listen to some old Lil Wayne mixtapes, you'll hear that the auto-tune is just off key and it just sounds terrible. I don't know how Lil Wayne or any of his engineers allowed that stuff to go through, but it has happened multiple times, and that is a big reason why some people will try and use auto-tune and their music will end up sounding terrible, because they just simply didn't select the right key. So make sure you're doing that. I've also got a video on how to use auto-tune for beginners, so go and check that out if you want some more in-depth instructions on how that's done, but that's going to help you out a lot. Now, if you want your vocals to be half mixed before you even get to the mixing stage, you should grab my Spotify ready vocal mixing secrets template. Link is down below in the description, or go to jcarterray.com/vocal templates right now. This template also comes with a PDF that walks through all the settings that I use for every single plugin that I use. So if you don't want to use the same plugins, you don't want to use the same DAW, but you want to be able to use the same settings that I use to create the template, and you can create your own templates with your own settings, your own DAW, grab that right now. PDF is worth the price of admission by itself. That template is a beautiful bonus. So having all of those together, it's really a no-brainer deal. But let's get back to it. Tip number 6 is to send effects like reverb and delay to another track. You never put them directly on the inserts of the vocal track. So as you can see here, we've got effects like the doubler, parallel compression, delay, flanger, delay, reverb, all sent to different tracks. The reason you want to do this is because it allows you to mix those effects with your original vocals without messing up your original vocal audio signal. If you add reverb to your actual track or add delay to your actual track, it's going to give you a limited amount of control, and it's going to affect your vocal audio signal negatively. Usually a reverb will generally drown it out and make it sound less impactful, and delay can really add too much going on to your audio signal. It's much better to have those on send tracks by themselves that you can then edit and manipulate in much more depth. For example, on my delay tracks, as you can see, I've got delay, I've got chorus, I've got Seventh Heaven, which is a reverb, and I've got EQ. If I was to have this on my main track and I added a delay, and then I added chorus and Seventh Heaven and Pro EQ, that would affect my whole vocal chain and actually end up messing that up in a way that I don't want to happen. So make sure that you're sending effects like reverb, delay, and stuff that will grossly and majorly affect your main vocals to another track. Tip number 7 is parallel compression. Parallel compression is basically when you send your vocal signal to another track that we was just talking about, and then you compress that track to high heaven. This is my parallel compression track. As you can see, the ratio is all, and basically that means that it's very compressed, super compressed. The compression is off the chart. It's basically 50-1. So that you wouldn't want on your main vocal channel, because you wouldn't want to compress it that much. You'd want to hear some of the dynamics. You want it to still sound like a person has recorded this. But when you use parallel compression, you mix in this super compressed audio signal with your main vocal audio signal. So let's turn off everything and we'll just turn on parallel compression so you can kind of hear what's going on with that.
Let's pretend we're friends like we never had
And then we'll turn it off and on.
sex before. Never had your head on my chest, in my arms like a vaccine shot. Never shared a bed, never thought that it was love. Never saw a future where it was just.
And as you can see, it just adds more impact to it, adds more oomph, and brings your vocal more in your face and more at the forefront of the song, which is generally what you want. Tip number 8 is to layer vocals to multiple sides for bigger and more epic vocals. We're going to need to jump into a different song to show you an example of this. So let me quickly do that. So here we are with a different song, so I can show you the different layers on different sides. So as you can see, I do this for my choruses mainly. So here we'll have the main vocals going right down the center, and then I'll have vocals to the left and vocals to the right. So I have my main vocals to the left, main vocals to the right, and then I'll have double vocals to the left and double vocals to the right. The main ones will just be basically the same as what's going on these, with less going on in terms of, you know, it's still got autotune, it's still got EQ and stuff, but I'm not going through my full vocal track. So it's got like EQ, and then we'll fling a nectar on it, which basically has everything I need for it to, you know, be a serviceable vocal. But because it's going to be so low and it's going to be in the background, I don't need all of this to bring it to the forefront, right? Then with my double left and double right, we have the same as on our main vocals, but then we also add vocal synth, which then basically adds a bit more effect to it and makes it sound even more interesting. And then we also will add some reverb to that as well. So this is what these layers sound like together.
Yeah, when a golf chick wearing all black, I need all that. Fishnets, tattoos and them piercings, I need all that. Good vibes, if I miss a call, then I'm a call back. I don't really do this very often, I need all that, yeah. I won't introduce her to my mom, but I love when she gets naughty when I put it in a bomb. Chemistry, crazy, swear I never had more fun. This might be what we wanted, like we both on the run. Life gain.
And then if we solo all of this, this is what it sounds like. So I'm gonna periodically turn off different parts.
Where I am, when a golf chick wearing all black, I need all that. Fishnets, tattoos and them piercings, I need all that. Good vibes, if I miss a call, then I'm a call back. I don't really do this very often, I need all that, yeah. I won't introduce her to my mom, but I love when she gets naughty when I put it in a bomb. Chemistry, crazy, swear I never had more fun. This might be what we wanted, like we both on the run.
And what it does is it basically makes your vocals sound wider and sound more epic. So definitely do this for all your choruses, yeah? All of them should have doubles, 100% of the time. Make sure you're doubling your choruses because it makes your chorus sound bigger and sound larger. Tip number 9 is to record vocals in lines and fade the takes into each other for easier recording and smoother performances. So let me show you what I mean. When I say lines, I mean bar by bar. For example, let's listen to this song. I forgot what the lyrics are, so we're gonna have to actually listen back to it.
Vegan in the kitchen sucking meat, yeah. Hands all over my body like that pussy in heat.
Oh, what's going on? And it's just, why does this sound so loud? It sounds mad loud, like there's something going on. I don't know why this sounds so loud.
Vegan in the kitchen sucking meat, yeah. Hands all over my body like that pussy in heat. Careful where you're stepping, there's a puddle by your feet. I am not a plumber, but I'm here to plug the leak down. Cash on hand, I'm making money in my sleeve. I don't know you.
So as you see, here we have 2 lines because it was just easy to do this.
Vegan in the kitchen sucking meat, yeah. Hands all over my body like that pussy in heat. Careful where you step.
But generally, you want to go line by line. If you can get 2 lines in there and it's not harming your performance, then sure enough, do that. But don't ever feel like you need to perform the entire verse in one take. That's just going to take ages. And every time you mess up on like the 7th bar, you're going to need to go back to the beginning of the verse to do it all over again. It's just not smart, okay? It's much smarter to go line by line, because then you're going to have the most amount of breath every time you do a line, and you're going to have the best impact every time you do a different line. So it will sound better and it will be easier to perform as well. So as you can see, we've also faded out each line, each recording, so that they fade into each other and you can't tell that they're being recorded line by line. This is very important as well.
Careful where you're stepping, there's a puddle by your feet. I am not a plumber, but I'm here to plug the leak down.
And then here is where this is even more important, because I've got very, very condensed lines here where there's a lot being said that if I try to record this whole part by itself, it'd be very hard for me to have enough breath control to get through to the end so that every line sounds impactful. So let's play this back.
Catch on hand, I'm making money in my sleep. If I don't know you, then you owe me, gotta charge a larger fee. If I don't love her, then I love her for the night tonight at least. If I'm the wrong one, I'm the wrong one at the right time that she needs, Happiness for sale, you can buy it by the gram. Think she know me well, but
that's enough. Now, tip number 10 is to set your vocal volume to match the clap of the beat so it sits on the beat nicely. If you've seen my video on how to get your vocals to sit perfectly in the beat, then you'll already know about this. And if you haven't, go watch that. That will show you this in depth. One, you're going to do a little bit here. But basically, you just want your vocals to sound like they're about the same place as your claps. So if we bring this back.
Vegan in the kitchen sucking meat, yeah. Vegan in.
So let's put that there.
In the kitchen sucking meat, yeah. Hands all over my body like that pussy in heat. Careful where you're stepping, there's a puddle by your feet.
So here we can actively look at the clap and see where it's hitting and see where our vocals are hitting at the same time. This isn't completely accurate because our vocals also have a bunch of sends, which actually makes it sound louder. So you really just need to use your ears.
I am not a plumber, but I'm here to plug the leak down. Cash on hand, I'm making money in my sleep. If I don't know you, then you owe me, gotta charge a larger fee. If I don't love her, then I love her for the night tonight at least. If I'm the wrong one, I'm the wrong one at the right time that she needs, Happiness for sale, you can buy it by the gram. Think she.
Okay, that is, in fact, that. If you got any questions or any other tutorials you want me to make next, let me know in the comment section down below. Check out that video next, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace out.